part of school for you as well. And then whatever it is you end up doing, and there's no one answer, people's careers are not straight lines. So what do you're an accountant? No.
This is my
Great. That's what I thought.
Yes,
and then
yeah.
I was like, well, I'm not sure. So what did you do for career?
I was a teacher, an elementary teacher.
And is that something you always wanted to do, or is it like, I explored other things?
No, back in the 60s, really, you had...
Women became teachers and nurses.
That's exactly right.
Sure. So
Right.
teaching. Did you have one job your whole life, or did you have a variety of settings, different schools?
I ended up with a couple of different jobs.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have known about any of those jobs back in high school.
Not at all.
Right.
Ever.
So all you really need to do, short term, is pick a world to learn about.
Yeah.
And then as you proceed with your career, because this opportunity comes your way, you learn about this from someone that you meet at a dinner party. So everybody creates their own careers. What you'll need, though, is always an answer to that question. Goals are not just professional, they're also personal. Someone might aim to step foot on every one of the 7 continents, or climb some mountain somewhere, or I want my life to be that I can go to France for 3 months every summer. Goals like that. So high foresight people who think in that far off kind of way, they just need things out there that they're aiming for.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Would political science also be in
It could be. It's the world of political science.
Yeah.
So you would be someone who used political science as a platform to law, or to government, or to politics itself. You could end up teaching it. So most humanities majors, liberal arts, non-spatial majors, there's room in there for people.
Okay. Because teaching was also one of my aptitudes.
Yep, teaches you have to explain things to people.
Yeah.
That could even be 25 years from now, you end up teaching at a college, the thing that you've done for your career.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't necessarily have to know what exactly you're going to do with your major. Some people have a general idea, I want to go in this area or this direction. But that's what college is for, is learning about the thing that you've chosen.
Okay.
So high foresight will help you get where you want to go. Here's the vocabulary article. Again, you're in fine shape with that, but everybody gets it. And then the rest of what's in here, resources for exploring all the stuff that you're taking with you. So we have what you pay attention to when you read, little activities you can do with the information. There's a sort of a middle direction for the interest survey, which we'll look at next. And then we have all kinds of ways to learn about colleges, majors, programs, careers, occupations, jobs even. We call it initial steps for students. And it starts with 3 sort of philosophical points to consider. So you're pretty far along with college. You'd like to go, star of the show would be Pepperdine, but you're like, would you be fine at any of the other ones? Yeah, you can always transfer.
Yeah.
Well, so we start with how one might begin thinking about college, with location, setting, distance, and you've done that. There's no best way to use an aptitude, which is what I've been saying. So we measure aptitudes. We have people do an interest survey, but you could also consider things like how much school something might take, or how much money might I make in that field. People have value. So there are other factors that go into the mix that you can think about from time to time. So all these different ways to learn, talk to people, internships, summer jobs, and so on. This is like next, but I put this in here for people in high school because there's different kinds of resources at colleges and universities. And then I'll come back to this last one, which just talks about what's available after today. So interests matter. People need to be interested. There could be things in here that are perfectly appropriate and just you're not interested in them, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. You can also use this in particular interest survey to generate additional occupations to consider that have some kind of connection. So it's a pretty well constructed interest survey. It starts with an opening section called Occupational Daydreams. We look at what these things are, less so for what they literally are and more for what they might have in common. So being a lawyer, getting to be a news anchor, being a pediatrician, those are all things that require effort for the payoff. So that could suggest that you're comfortable with the idea of really having to work for what you want, not just something simple like, I go to school, I get a job.
Yeah.
I think you'd be bored as a news anchor. You're more of a journalist.
Yeah.
Yeah, because news anchors just read the news.
Yeah.
But a journalist, investigative journalist, you know, for NBC News or something like that, where you have to go out and pursue the story, write something. Is that what you meant by news anchor, though? Or did you mean someone who reads the news?
No, when I was younger, I just wanted to be a news anchor.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not really, because it didn't say like
Sure.
everything you've ever thought about.
Sure, yep. And so
Yeah.
people, but this could work if you were the reporter.
Yeah.
I think pharmacy is a nice, safe career. You could do it. I think you would be bored,
I think
honestly.
I would too.
Okay, so great. Pediatrician would be kind of hard, only because medical school, very spatial.
Yeah.
But pediatrician, news anchor, even investigative journalist, and lawyer are all long-term, distant things. So that's kind of what they have in common.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where you currently are, is law. So political science is a nice background for law, but so is something like history or economics. You know, there's no, anyone can go to law school, basically. You might choose a major, if that's what you decide you want to do, even now, you might choose a major that would point toward a particular type of law. Like someone who wanted to be an advocate for, you know, children's rights might study something like child psychology.
What about like your Law and Order law? Like
Really almost anything, but I think political science is a fairly common. You could ask the internet, what do defense attorneys or prosecutors, depending on what side you want to be on,
Yeah.
is there anything in particular that they study? Out of psychology would actually probably be helpful.
Yeah.
About how people think.
That's true.
You had an undergraduate degree in, I mean, you could also major in psychology. But if you've always thought, like, geez, I think that would be a really cool career, what side do you see yourself on? More prosecution or defense, or
Yeah,
not quite yet?
Probably prosecution.
Prosecution? Yeah, so what do prosecutors usually study? You can see if there's an answer there. But I bet you that there isn't any one particular thing. It's what you want to learn about, but psychology might be helpful.
Yeah.
So people do this, also gets them kind of thinking about themselves and work, and then you went on to answer all these little questions about what things you like and don't like. A section about competencies, occupations. All of your responses get filled in here, added up, and generate an interest summary code, which is social, enterprising, and conventional. We also have artistic, investigative, and realistic. The second booklet has little profiles of what they mean by investigative or realistic or social. So what you do, and it tells you to do this on the next page, is you take your interest summary code and different, you know, variations of that combination of 3 letters, and you find occupations in here that have those letters in their code. All of the occupational titles in here come from the Department of Labor. So you would learn about them at the ONET, which is the Occupational Network Center. This is the Bureau of Labor Statistics from the also Department of Labor, and Career One Stop. We actually mention the same resources here when we're talking about how you learn about things. So everything that's in here comes from that source. So anything you found in here would have a profile and information online. They're also all alphabetical in the back. So what we suggest people do with the interest summary code, when we talk about interest here, is actually read all 6 of those profiles. Because how this came out is how you answered the questions, you know, this morning or yesterday, whenever you did it. Was it this morning?
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
This morning.
Would have been different had you done it a week ago, perhaps. Also, you're asked about things that you may not know that much about. So what 17-year-old knows what an estate planner does? So how do you know if you're interested in that? The C might have come up in your code because you dutifully answered yes to all these competency questions. Like, yes, I can file paperwork. I can do a lot of paperwork in a short period. That's great. But is that what you want to be doing?
No.
Exactly. So 22, 20, also not that far apart. So you may be S, E, and C, great. But if you read the profiles, and you look into this a little bit more and you think, oh, that's not, I don't think conventional is me. Be something else.
Yeah.
It is an interest survey. It does link to occupational research. There's data behind it, but it's still dependent on knowledge. And what they also have in this, they just updated this summer, is they added a lot of these little exercises that you can do as well to help you explore things. You don't have to do all this immediately. But when you're feeling like, oh yeah, I'm going to do, like you may not have much to say in your job, jobs, that's because you're a high school student, but daydream occupations again. So there's a lot more to this than just here's a list of careers to think about. So as you're going along, deciding what you want to do and what you're going to study, waiting to hear from your school that you really want to go to, we do have additional resources that are mentioned in that last little article. So at any point in the future, you feel like, I really want to go over this again because I'm making a decision about work, or this opportunity came out of left field, I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing. Any of that in the future, we call them follow-ups. And within a year of testing, the first follow-up is free. Other than that, it's $100. We will do them on the phone. If you end up in, Marquette is in Wisconsin.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm from the East Coast. Everything
Okay.
here is like out there. Well, it's New England's very small. We have 6 states.
Yeah.
So as opposed to the giantness of the Midwest or Minnesota. So if you want to give us a call, we could do a follow-up on the phone. But you could also do them in other offices. So it's not the same thing. We have an office in LA. So say you end up at Pepperdine and you love living in California, that's where you are, and you want to have a conversation. Anyone that works here would go through this with you and help you understand how to use it if you needed to. If you just had a couple of questions at any point, you don't need a whole conversation, you're just curious about this or that, email is free. That would come to this office. We'll get your stuff out. We're happy to do that. And that's particularly useful because you have to think a lot more when you're writing for someone else. How am I saying this? What am I saying? So you don't have to just walk out of here and good luck to you. You can always come back to let us know how things are going as well, or with questions or with a follow-up. But try and maybe think, there's a lot of pressure on high school students to pick the thing.
Yeah.
And everyone asks you, what are you going to do with that? And you either have to have an answer or make something up. I want to work with kids. Yeah. Good enough. I want to be a lawyer. Oh, okay. People know what that is. Mm-hmm. Oh, lawyer. Okay. I've heard of lawyers. But all you really are doing is choosing what you want to learn about. And as you go along, your professors, your classes, your classmates, any internship, any summer job could totally alter. There's things out there that you just don't know about yet. If you end up deciding that law is what you really want to do, you could be a lawyer. Again, the right kind of law, the faster pace kind of things. With high foresight, I always like the idea of advocacy law, big picture, like changing something, changing a law, creating policy. But it's not even a decision you make right now. Even if you wanted to, you don't go to law school at 17 or 18. Yeah. So you have time to figure it out. Okay. So what I usually do at this point is let people sort of sit and think about things for a couple of minutes. If you wanted to jot down any, keywords or impressions or any of that, you can write on this. It's all going home with you. There's paper there as well. So I'll leave you alone for a little bit. And do you have any questions right at the moment? Did you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay. Is it making sense to you?
Yeah, it does. I wish I would have had this available to me, 50 years ago.
Well, we have been here around since 1922, but no, people didn't think about. Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. This is it was 90 years in 2016,
oh, my word.
I think.
Okay.
15 maybe. I can't remember.
All right.
But on the other hand, adults do. Have you liked teaching kids?
I did, but I enjoyed my job as a travel agent better.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
More adults. Teaching has parents though too.
They both had satisfaction.
Yeah.
The satisfaction of sending someone on the perfect trip appealed to me.
Yeah.
And following through and computer and all of that. So I'm not quite sure where I would have fallen in this inventory of aptitudes.
Yeah.
But, teaching, I was probably it was just okay.
It was fine. It was a
Yeah.
job. It was
Yeah.
steady.
Yeah.
It was stable.
Yep.
Summers off.
That's exactly what my father said.
Sure.
Be a teacher, you'll always have a job.
You
So,
look, well, I mean, practicality does certainly come into play for
Yeah.
people.
yeah.